Yeah. Hi guys, I'm my rolling pin. I'm Leanne, and I hope you guys have worked on appetizing all the awesome food that's been coming out here. But it's dessert time, so the dish I'll be presenting with you guys today is a pumpkin and walnut cake with a white chocolate and pumpkin ganache with honeycomb, milk crumb, and a yogurt sorbet. But before we get onto that, let's just talk about these guys for a bit. So these are pumpkins, obviously. So I've got the butternut squash here, I've got Kent pumpkin, and then I have this guy, which I'm pretty sure is a Halloween decoration, but it is edible, I think. But anyway, about pumpkins, so I really love working with pumpkins because they're such a versatile ingredient. You know, you can bake them, steam them, they make delicious soups in salad as well, and of course in baked goods, which is what I have done today. And pumpkin is also really high in vitamin A and potassium, so they're great for you. Maybe not so much in desserts, but they're good for you. Let's leave it at that, yeah? Okay, cool. So let's get the story started on my dish. So let me get my plate. All right. The first thing that goes onto my plate is my white chocolate and pumpkin ganache, which is just right over here. Now look at the beautiful color of the ganache, and this is purely from the color of the pumpkin, and I have used the Kent pumpkin today. So this is grown locally, so it's really affordable, but if you want to get all fancy, you can also use the butternut squash. This is from Australia, but they both work just as well. Now, I'm gonna get the ganache onto the plate. Now, how I came up with this recipe was when I was living in Melbourne, in autumn, pumpkin would be in season. So I really like buying seasonal produce because it's at its freshest and also it's at a great price. So that's what I do. I would buy a massive pumpkin. And so for that week, I'll be eating pumpkin everything. So I'll make pumpkin risotto one day and the next day like in my salads. So I thought of making a dessert. So I like to challenge myself when I buy an ingredient and see how far I can stretch that ingredient and, you know, challenge myself. And this dish came about pretty much using what I had in my pantry and what I had in the fridge at that time. So in a way, it's a leftover dish, but like the best leftover you'll ever have. So let me just get this little ganache on here. And I'm just giving it a nice smear on the plate, so that looks good. And the next thing that's going to go on is my milk crumb. Now, if I can find it, yes, the milk crumb is here. And so I think in a dessert or even in like savory dishes, taste is really important, but so is texture. So I think it's really important to have something soft, crispy, crunchy, and so all that excitement happening in your mouth. So this is what the milk crumb is going to do. So this is the crumbly element of the dish, and the milk crumb is inspired by Momofuku Milk Bar in America. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar. It's under David Chang. And so I read a lot about the milk crumb, and like in articles, they would always bring up the milk crumb, so that got me really interested. So I did a bit of research, and this is my take on the milk crumb. Now, I haven't tasted the actual milk crumb before, but this is what I imagine it to taste like. And baking is kind of like that. It's part chemistry and part imagination. Don't you think so? So this is my milk crumb. Now, this is really versatile. I think I've tried putting them in cookies as well, and they work really well. They give like a really nice milky finish to the whole dish. The whole cookie. So I'm just going to lay this onto our plate. So make sure you get some big chunks. So the milk crumb tastes, so imagine like a really milky, buttery shortbread coated in white chocolate. So it's sort of sweet and savory at the same time. So I think it works really well in the dish because I think adding a little bit of salt in desserts really brings out the flavor. So think of salted caramel or even a bit of sea salt in dark chocolate works really well and enhances the flavor of things. So let me get a little bit more milk crumb. Okay, that was a very big chunk, but it's okay. That's cool. All right. Okay, so this is the time that I like to go in with my cake. So I have made a pumpkin and walnut cake, this little guy over here, and in there obviously is pumpkin. And what I have done is I roasted off the pumpkin and peppermint style, which is what I picked up from Chef Rudolph at the workshop, and it's essentially baking it in a foil or parchment paper kind of parcel with a splash of water. And I think it's a great way of cooking because it steams and roasts it at the same time without caramelizing the outside of the pumpkin too much. So that was a good cooking technique to do for this. And then after that, I just pureed the pumpkin. I passed it through a sieve, and it went into the cake. And also with that, I used red palm oil. Now, I've been loving using red palm oil for baking lately because it's so versatile. It has a neutral flavor. And also, it has the highest levels of vitamin A and vitamin E in a plant-based oil. So I think that's pretty cool. So if you're vegan, maybe you can think of an alternative if you don't want to bake with butter, but my dish is not vegan today. But just saying, if you're vegan, you can use palm oil, and that's a great alternative. And I found that the combination of pumpkin and red palm oil works really well in keeping the cake moist for days. So if you don't eat the whole batch the first day that you make it, if you do, that's okay, it happens to the best of us. But if you don't, it will stay moist for days because of the pumpkin and the red palm oil. So I think that's a great combination. And to spice it up, I've used some cinnamon and nutmeg because cinnamon and nutmeg are best friends with pumpkin. So our cake goes over there. Now, the next thing is a little bit of crunch, and that is going to come from my honeycomb. So I'm sure some of you guys has made honeycomb before, and for those of you who've never made honeycomb before, just be really careful when you're making it because you are working with hot sugars and it can burn you. So don't be like me. So the first time I ever made honeycomb, if you never made it before, it's really quite amazing to watch. So the ingredient that gives honeycomb the rise, just let me grab it for a while. Ooh. Okay, so the ingredient that gives honeycomb its honeycomb texture is bicarbonate of soda. So once you put it into your hot sugar, you will watch it immediately form up and just grow, and there's just science happening, and it's just super exciting to watch. So the first time I made it, I was like, oh, this is so cool, and then I just whisked too hard, and then I got honeycomb on myself. So don't burn yourself. So a tip, just wear a long sleeve and keep calm and make good honeycomb if that works, okay? So let's get this onto the plate. So obviously, this is a very big chunk, so we have to smash it up. So the way I like to do it is I'm just going to put it between some parchment paper and with a rolling pin, or if you don't have a rolling pin, you can always go ahead and use like the back of a pot or like a baseball bat or whatever you can bash it with, you know? So I am going to just lightly tap this, so you don't need a lot of force. Cool. And that is tapped. Now, I like to smash it just before I serve it because I find that the humidity really gets to the honeycomb really quickly and it can get quite sticky. So do it just before you're about to serve your guests. So I'm going to get my honeycomb onto my plate. So I like a combination of some big chunks and some little ones, bit of texture, and look at this, like the honeycomb dust is just amazing. It's like this magical golden powder. All right. So just put it in and around your dish, wherever you think needs a bit of crunch. So I'm just putting it around some big chunks over here maybe, and just a little sprinkle, if this will come off my spoon. Okay, so I got our honeycomb onto the plate, and let me just put this away. Now, the last thing that needs to go on is the yogurt sorbet, but before I do that, because once you put the yogurt sorbet, it means it's go time, but I like to take my time to pimp my dish up a little bit and make it look pretty. So I have some edible flowers over here, and these edible flowers came from Genting, so which is cool. Like, I didn't go to Genting, it came from Genting, and I bought them. So I think they work really well in dishes. You know, edible flowers are such a great way to just enhance your dish, but just bear in mind they do have quite a peppery flavor. So when you're adding it to the dish, you have to consider the rest of the dish before you just throw on some flowers, but they always look pretty. So I'm just gonna get them on there. So I'm pretty sure these are, this is not gonna go there. Okay, let's put this one. So these are sweet peas, and I think the violet color works really well because it complements the orange and yellow hues of the dish. So I think this is a good combination and good flowers to use. But you know, you can use any flowers you can get on hand, as long as they're edible. So maybe a bit of pink going on there. Ooh. No. Okay. And maybe one last little guy. So, you know, you take your time when you want to make your dish look pretty. And that looks good to me. Let me just put this away. And the last thing that's going to go into my dish is my yogurt sorbet. And a tip for quenelling is, first of all, you have to make sure your spoon is nice and deep so you can get the shape that you want. And also, secondly, it's not a thermos. It's the warm water inside the thermos. So I thought I'll come prepared. So I have a little nice warm water inside. So it really helps to get to the ice cream or sorbet a lot easier if you have a bit of warm water on hand. So I like to dip that in there. Now, I couldn't really quenelle 2 weeks ago, and I watched Chef Rodolphe do it, and he made it look very easy, and I reckon he can do it with his eyes closed because he's done it a gazillion times. But I watched and I learned. So I've been practicing at home, so hopefully I can get a decent looking quenelle onto the plate today. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to swap over my sorbet, make some space. Ooh, okay, cool. Now, this is wrapped up. So I have a yogurt sorbet here, and I decided to make a yogurt sorbet for the dish because I wanted something that's sort of refreshing, light, to sort of cut through the richness of the rest of the dish. And so I thought this worked really well. So I'm gonna get a quenelle onto the plate. Oh, if it doesn't happen the first time, it's okay. Right, it looks like it's happening slowly. So a tip to remember before you actually quenelle your sorbet is to ensure that your sorbet isn't so frozen and that hard, and that will make it a lot easier, but I will know for next time. So that would be helpful. So I'm sorry guys, please bear with me and my quenelling skills. Okay, just give me a moment. So I might have to warm up my spoon a bit more if I can get my quenelle out of the bowl. I'm sure you guys are really hungry from seeing like all the food that's been presented so far, so I'm sure you're excited to try. So I won't keep you too much longer. Okay. It looks like it's happening. So on the side of the bowl, just keep rotating the spoon until you get the desired shape. Kind of. And once you're ready, you just warm the back with your back in your palm to release the quenelle, and then you can just drop it where you want it. And I think that looks like a decent quenelle. So there you go, guys. This is my pumpkin dessert on a plate. Now I hope you guys learned a thing or two, or if you guys would like the recipe, I would be more than happy to share it on my blog. So who's hungry?
What do you think our reaction is going to be to your dish?
I hope you enjoy it. So it's sort of celebrating pumpkin in a way, and it's good to have a bit of dessert now and then. So yeah.
One question. Yes. Are you very much a pastry person, or are you an overall person who loves?
So I cook as well, but most of the time I do a lot of sweets because I have a sweet tooth.
Fine.
But I can also do savory stuff.
Okay. So do you go out for cooking anytime, cooking classes, or anywhere around the world to take courses for pastry?
Yes, so when I travel,
Wonderful.
so I went to Korea recently, and then I went to a cooking class. So when I travel, I like to join a cooking class, or even in Australia, they have weekend classes and things. So
wonderful.
I think that's very fun.
Are you now based there and come back here? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let them eat first, and then I say.
Okay.
Let me first start. What I like about you, I like your voice, the way you bring that. I think you're one of my favorite, contestants as well in terms of presentation. I can see you can be polished to be even more confident. Yeah. You have wonderful looks, very nice presentation, all that, and that fits there. But then I like your movement, the way you're sharing stuff and going. So that's great. So because I see that you're very comfortable as well on television, and of course, you know, your English is very well polished. Not like me, my grammar also like this was orang, but I just went and talk lah. But because you come from that part of the world for so long, and you have not had belacan that much, huh? So it's wonderful to see the way you do it, because we need cook show hosts, you know, especially Malaysian, you know, to be that. So that's good. So but except that I think, but you know, you just need to kind of like, you know, be very precise in certain things that you want to do and all that. And then but we cannot see how you work. That's the thing that I feel a bit disappointing. But other than that, you do have the potential in the future. You know, if let's say you don't win today, because there are many other contestants, perhaps, you know, that we see better than you, whatever. So don't feel that, you know, you're not part of that. You are. So you have huge opportunity in the future to go into television, learn, you know, and all that, and then, you know, use your wonderful personality, you know, and whatever you have to transmit, you know, that wonderful energy. Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chef.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh.
I think Chefon has already said whatever I was going to say. So I thought the delivery was very, very professional. There was a very good flow to it. I would perhaps like to see a bit more usage of local ingredients.
Yeah.
But I also understand that you have lived in Melbourne for the last 8 years, so the influence is definitely there. Plus, since Halloween is near, so pumpkin, it's so excusable.
But just like the other contestants as well, I mean, it would be nice to see some sort of skill involved into combining something and something, because you're engaging an audience. It's like engaging the camera in front of the audience. They also want to, like, for example, they want to know how to make this yogurt sorbet. You don't have to make it, but you can just show people that you combine it this way. So at least there is some sort of technical skill that's being expressed. So, yeah.
Sure.
I think what I like about, well, one of the things that I liked about, and I like quite a number of things from your presentation, was the fact that, you know, your quenelle, your ice cream, your sorbet was frozen solid. And you kind of just kept going at it. You never panicked. You never quite gave up. Your nerves were still very much intact.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to have a career in television, that's something you need to have. Because things can go wrong at any given moment.
Yeah.
For example, you had that moment there with the frozen, and it was frozen solid, the sorbet. You kept at it, you had some humor injected into it, and I think that's the way to go. You don't want your audience to kind of just feel, oh, she doesn't quite belong there, does she? Yeah, you want to feel like you're at home. You want to feel like you're comfortable, and that should translate onto camera as well. So good job all around.
You know, as we say, shit do happen. I'll tell you a story. Okay, there's one time I took a cheesecake out. I baked them, and then we had one which was baked at home, but for some reason, my assistant forgot to bring them in, so we had to rely on the cake in the oven. And by the time they come out from the oven on television, and it was shot, and the cake came out too quickly from the you know, cheesecake, you have to leave in the oven, and you have this San Andrea fork, correct? And I went on television and went like, whatever. I said, you know what? I did it on purpose, because you know, and the reason why we did this is because, you know, we want to show to you that how important to keep the cake in the oven to cool down for an hour or two, because you have all this heat and contractions. I was trying to explain how the oven works and the temperature outside, and all this in control. And I said, you know what? Like a woman lah, you got this map lah, Jakarta map. Sometimes you have all these blemishes. Nothing is perfect. So, but when you come to this point, how do you rise the occasion? So I went and took all because it was an orange sunshine cheesecake, it's an orange cake. So I saw some lemon that we piled up, thank God. I start peeling them, everything, and then put them in and take out marmalade for my knee, and then dress up, and then I said, oh, they look so gorgeous, aren't they? I said, no. So the moral story here, you can hide things under the cake. So these are the kind of thing that sometimes you go up, and then my director was behind like, very clever. Because that one, you got to master the art of bullshit, we call it, okay?
I will learn that slowly.
That's why we were saying it. Thank you very much. Is there any further comments? Chef Rodolphe, would you like to say something?
Alors, yes, I think we have a nice, your plating was nice, with a bit between a bitter orange, a golden color with your cake, beautiful butterfly pea, small butterfly flour. Personally, I like your cake. It's quite moist and light because you remove the batter to put palm oil inside.
Yes, red palm oil.
At the end you have a nice moisture, a nice golden caramelization, a bit un peu honey flavor. And I think your idea to make honeycomb with a modern way by using soda bicarbonate was a really good idea to go with the pumpkin.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quite moist, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Leanne.
Thank you so much.